stories are what connect us. People love stories, especially stories about other people. So why is it that in some of the most important areas, we retreat away from stories? We start talking about numbers and facts and research, all of which is really important, don't get me wrong. But sometimes, in those most important areas, we're scared to talk about what all of that really means, how it makes a difference for real people, and how people use those numbers, facts, and research in their lives. So here's a story I want to tell you. Imagine if you didn't need your job anymore. If it was a quirky hobby, and you went because you found it interesting and fulfilling, and the money was just a nice side effect. Imagine how differently you would live your life if the money was taken out of the equation. Now, this sounds like something that a millionaire or a billionaire would do, but actually a lot of really wealthy people fail at this. Meanwhile, regular people can make it happen. And you get it through financial freedom. There is a whole new generation of financial freedom seekers. They are changing their lives because they see money as a tool and they've learned how to use it. Now, in my job, I am all about personal finance. I write about it for a newspaper column, I talk about it on a podcast, I wrote about it for a book. You might think I'm someone who's pretty focused on money, right? Pretty interested in it. But I actually don't care about money. I don't. I care about what money can do for me. Currently, when you go to work, you exchange your time for money. Every dollar that you earn is a percentage of your life that you gave to a company. So, what if you could use your money to buy back your time? You can. You just have to change the way you live your life, change the way you handle your finances, decide what matters to you, and laser focus on that. So, one of the stories I want to tell you about is the FIRE movement, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And we're going to start with the big version of this, but there are also easier versions, cheat versions, to help you get there faster. And it's based on a couple of pieces of maths that you will need to learn. And I know, maths. I hate it too. Which is ironic, because my mum was a maths teacher. And she used to try to tutor me in high school. And I do not recommend that for a healthy teenager-parent relationship. However, this maths is so simple, even I can do it. So you're going to be okay, I've got you. So, the first piece of maths is the 25 times rule, and this is your goal. You need a nest egg of 25 times what you spend in a year. And the standard plan is to invest it into low-fee index funds, which is just a simple way of investing in shares. Now, when you buy shares, you are buying a little piece of a business. Those businesses then go to work, make money, and you as a partial owner get a little piece of that profit. And then it compounds. Now, compound interest means you invest money, that money goes to work, it makes profit, you reinvest that profit, and then you've got profit making profit. All you need is time. Think of it like a rolling money snowball, where the longer it has to roll, the bigger it will get, with more picking up more and very little effort from you. Or think about what happens when you put two rabbits together, and how quickly you'll get more rabbits, and then more rabbits from those rabbits. Now, whether you're thinking snowballs or rabbits, what's important is that you're sending your money to work so that it can make money for you while you get to sleep in. And the invention of low-fee index funds has made this accessible to just about everyone. You do not need a business degree or to hire someone with a business degree anymore. You just follow a few simple rules and you're an investor. And you can see again how your money and your time are so closely linked. You can use your money to buy back your time. And the more time you have, the easier you can make money, thanks to compound interest. When you are young and broke is the perfect time to start investing because you have so much time. So you need so much less money in order to get that snowball rolling, or your rabbits cuddling. Now, the second piece of maths is 4%. Once you hit that 25 times goal, you can theoretically withdraw 4% of that money forever without running out. Now, this includes the good years, where your investments might make far more than 4%, but you are controlled and you only take out 4%. And it includes the bad years, like this year, where your money might even go backwards, or at the very least feel like it's going backwards. But because you were controlled in those good years, and you stacked it aside, you can still take out 4%. Again, it's all about the story, because this is a big goal, but what can you get from it? Well, there are ordinary people on ordinary salaries who have used this method to build whatever type of life they want. Quitting their job, going traveling, changing to a different job that they always wanted, but it didn't pay as much. Or there are some people who never get there, but create the type of stability and security that they would never have had otherwise. Even getting only part way to financial independence creates the ability to survive a crash like what just happened with COVID-19, where we were all thrown into lockdown and nobody knew if we would have jobs at the end of it. I'm not financially independent yet, and it was worrying. But even though I'm not fully independent now, I knew I had enough of a cushion that I could survive at least several months. And it was peace of mind in a worrying time. And that's suddenly real, isn't it? Now, I thought about this when I was writing my book, because to be honest with you, there are a lot of really good personal finance books out there, and a lot of money management is pretty simple. So why don't more of us read them? Why would we grab a fiction book and read it to relax? But if someone handed you a personal finance book, you might say, that sounds a bit full on. No, thank you. Well, a lot of those books dive straight into mortgage structure, debt management, interest rates, savings rates, data, numbers. And suddenly we're right back into those high school maths lessons that we hated. It's a lack of stories. It's a lack of making it real. What's more powerful is talking about how people are using those lessons. You might have a general idea of what you should be doing with your money, but how are other people making that work around real life? That's the secret sauce. So, as I was writing my book, I was writing how you can feel more comfortable with your money and how you can make it work harder for you, I also wrote how at each step these techniques had changed my life. And I wrote how the experts that I interviewed had changed their lives. Because it is life-changing. You start with less stress, and you gradually take back more and more control of your life. And you'd best believe that when I am organizing my finances now, I have those fire numbers in the back of my head. Freedom and independence to do what I choose without money dictating to me. It needs 25 times what I spend in a year. Now, you might be hearing this and thinking, that's very nice, Frances. You do make a good pitch, but I just quickly did some maths in my head, and 25 times what I earn in a year is well over $1 million. To which I say, first of all, well done for doing maths in your head. Now, secondly, that's why I say 25 times what you spend in a year, not what you earn. Now, I'm not about living a life of deprivation, and that is not what budgeting is about. It is about deciding what is meaningful to you and what's just meaningless nonsense that runs the risk of crowding that out. What do you want in the story of your life? And what's just a scribble in the margin? So here's how you write a budget. You do not start with a budget. You start with a money diary. Write down everything that you spend for a week. No cheating. Now next to it, write down how much you needed to spend that. And I am talking here true need, so shelter, food, getting to work, that sort of stuff. Now also, write down how happy it made you, because I do not want you to cut the things that make you happy. But at the end of that week, there will be some things there that you don't need and that don't make you happy, and that's easy, cut them. Now, the needs and the things that make you happy, how can you keep them in your life in a smarter way? Let's start with the needs. We spend most of our money on housing, transport, and food. It's about 60% of every dollar we spend for the average New Zealander, although I would point out that is an average figure. So what can you change there? Do you need a big house? Or could you downsize? Knock 10 years off the mortgage? Is a spare room that you never go in worth extra years of your life spent at work? It's up to you. I chose to move to a lower cost of living area where I live in a relatively small house. Now, I'm not saying that was easy, and it did take literally a couple of years of negotiating remote work options, but it was worth it. What creative ways could you use to change your core living costs? A $5 coffee doesn't matter if you just save $200 on rent. Now, what about what makes you happy? I know what makes me happy. I am slightly vain, and I like nice clothes. So at the beginning of this year, I set myself a challenge. And I decided I was only going to buy second-hand clothes all year. And I set myself this challenge, and I put something up on my Instagram as almost an afterthought, and I was blown away by the response. I got requests for media interviews about my big sacrifice. And I was asked how I do it. I do this because it doesn't feel like a big sacrifice. It feels like I'm having my cake and eating it too. It feels like I broke the system. I get to have all the nice clothes that I want without worrying about the price tag and without feeling like I'm getting in the way of my own long-term goals. Now, when you live like this, you're doing two things that are really important. One, your life now costs less, so you need less to get to that 25 times goal. And two, you are saving and investing more with what's left over, so you're making progress faster. And here's where I want to address the retire early side. Because, personally, if I hit financial independence tomorrow, I would not do the second half and retire early. I find my job fulfilling and interesting. I feel like I make a valuable contribution, and honestly, how much would you pay for that feeling? I like my job. I just don't want to be dependent on it or beholden to it. So the FIRE movement has been going for a while now, and while some people have hit that big 25 times goal and quit their jobs, gone on to do amazing things, others haven't. But you can change the job you always wanted to try, but that pays less. You can change your hours, work different times of the day, or go part-time. You can go remote. You can take a break of several years, spend more time at home with your kids. You have the freedom to leave at any time. And I'm sure you can imagine how that changes negotiations with the boss. So if you don't want to quit your job, you just want the stability and freedom to make different choices, well, that 25 times number shrinks again. And the work you'll need to put in to get there is so worth it when you think about what your life would look like once you have financial freedom. Do you want a big petrol-guzzling car and then to spend your life in the office working overtime to pay for that car loan? Or do you want something smaller? maybe to get rid of it entirely, and spend time at home with your family. Or maybe lock up and leave, go traveling for weeks at a time when those borders reopen. But sometimes we need a hand to remember our goals. We are marinating in a culture that wants you to spend on things you don't need so that other people can be rich. And it is hard to deprogram that need to mindlessly spend. Well, the new generation of financial freedom seekers have got that sorted. Communities of people are springing up online and they are sharing tips for saving money, making money, investing money. They share knowledge, which is great, but more importantly, they share how they use that knowledge. They share their stories. Research and data becomes real when you see how people are using it. And this is why my own approach as a personal finance journalist is a little different from the generation that went before me. I want to meet people where they are. I want to share all the best ways to manage your money, definitely, but I also want to share how people are putting that into practice, the stories, and I will share those stories with you wherever you like, in a newspaper, on a podcast, on social media, in a book. When you talk to people about your money, you are vulnerable, sure. But you also take the opportunity to each lift each other up. Now, I spend all day, every day talking to financial experts, but one of the best tips I ever got was from a friend who I went to university with and who doesn't work in finance. Now, she told me to rotate what you cut back on each month so that you never feel deprived overall. So 1 month, no social life. The next month, no new clothes, but you can go back to the pub. I quite liked that, so I shamelessly stole it. And I put it in my book as a budgeting tip. And it is the number one thing that people contact me about to say it was a tip that they appreciated. From a regular conversation with a regular person. Because when I started having open, vulnerable conversations with my friends about money, I gave them permission to do the same. And so we both shared stories and we both learned something. And when I'm losing focus, the people I've surrounded myself with and the conversations that we have pull me back. So I want you to think about what your life would look like if you didn't have to care about money. If it was no longer a factor, a barrier, a worry. What would you do? I want you to care about anything but money, but use money as the tool that gets you there. Thank you.